And to continue looking into the visit of President Sisi to China, which kicked off on Saturday. It's a 4-day visit during which His Excellency the President will attend the PAC Summit, the Chinese-African Summit between the 3rd and the 4th of this month. We will be talking about tourism and the Chinese-Egyptian cooperation in that field. And I'm happy to have with me Dr. Rami. He's a tourism expert. Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Now, definitely the Chinese market is one of the most booming markets nowadays in Egypt. So how do you see it? And especially in light of the visit of the president to China.
For sure, the Chinese market is very important and overwhelming market in the Egyptian tourism nowadays. And it's very important to know that Chinese tourism is presenting approximately 300,000 tourists per year now, approximately every year. And in fact, in spite of, for sure, it's a good number, but still we are aspiring much more because we know that the Chinese tourism to the world is approximately 130 million tourists per year. This means that Egypt absorbs approximately 0.002 of the Chinese world of tourism to the world. This means that our share is approximately 1 person every 433 Chinese tourists to the world. So this is very little to Egypt, in fact, and we are expecting much more for the Egyptian tourism here from China, especially that we know that our president, our country is doing its best to implement and to support the Chinese economy in Egypt. For instance, we have a lot of products that are that produced in China everywhere in Egypt nowadays. Whenever we buy something new, we read it's not made in except in China nowadays. So it's we are expecting much more from China as well as support for Egypt because Egypt is supporting also the Chinese economy a lot.
Now, the Chinese travelers it's a very sensitive market. They have their own special needs. So are they more into the classical tourism or the recreational tourism? And are they more of winter travelers or are they all year long?
In fact, China is a world by itself. China is a world by itself. If we know that 1.4 billion tourist citizens are existing in China, we expect that China is approximately approaching to the fourth of the world. Maybe in a few years it will be fourth of the population of the world. So China has all the interests, in fact, and the Chinese tourists have all the interests. For instance, the age people are usually interested in much more monuments and archaeology than the youth. The youth is more interested in diving, in recreational tourism. So China has everything. Chinese tourist is interested in different things, and normally this way divided. It's divided this way that the old people are preparing for sure the cultural tourism, and the youth are preparing the recreational one.
What about the preparations of Egypt for them? Are we ready for the Chinese market to boom? Do we have enough tour guides and program directors? Do we have enough people speaking Chinese? Because I understand that very few of them would speak English. They mainly speak in their native language. So are we ready to accommodate that market here in Egypt?
In fact, as far as you know, the Egyptian tourism, the Egyptian government is doing its best in everywhere, in every field. To, for instance, the charter is working nowadays. A lot of charters are organized especially from the different Chinese cities to directly to Cairo, to Luxor, to different. So that's important for sure for the supporting tourism. At the same time, I know that the trend of the Egyptian government now is to support the Chinese tourism to Egypt. The president himself has done so many visits to China in order to bring tourists. He's trying to facilitate everything for the Chinese tourism. Everywhere is declared that Egypt is encouraging the Chinese tourism. Concerning the guys, yes, for sure, there is a trend now to teach Chinese language. Personally, as you know, I'm the only guide in Egypt in 6 languages: English, French, German, Spanish, Italian, Hebrew, and Japanese. And presently, I'm studying Chinese. Presently, I'm studying Chinese waiting for the coming Chinese tourists as well. Which means that now I'm studying Chinese. So everywhere, in fact, every guide in Egypt a lot of guides in Egypt are trying to study Chinese. I was also nominated for our syndicate in the last elections, and one of the points that I've mentioned in my program was to give a Chinese course for every tourist guide in Egypt. For every tourist guide is Chinese, because we have a lot of Chinese all over the world, and we are expecting them, or we are inviting them to come to Egypt. So one of the points that I mentioned, but unfortunately the elections were not completed. It was 92 votes less than the official voting, and it will be repeated in the future. But anyway, one of the points was to give a Chinese course for every tourist guide in Egypt, because tourism is very important to Egypt, and Chinese tourism is very paid attention to nowadays, and that's why it's very important to pay attention to that. And this is my invitation also to everyone in Egypt that has a possibility to help in that field, in that perspective. Education of Chinese lessons and Chinese courses everywhere in Egypt, because this is very important. It's the future of Egypt nowadays, and it's a continuation for the mutual cooperation since the Silk Road is very far away till today. So,
yes, go ahead, Doctor.
So what I'm willing to say is that please everyone in his position should try to support the Chinese tourism to Egypt, Chinese courses to Egypt. I invite the culture centers, for instance, the Chinese culture center to give courses, to aid for these courses, to cooperate with the Ministry of Tourism, with the Syndicate of Tourist Guides, in order to give these courses to every guide in Egypt, because it's a very good opportunity even for the English guides that are not having a lot of work nowadays because of political situations after 2011 and so on. So that's why it's very important, in fact, to pay attention to the tourism in China, and the Chinese tourists that are coming, that are loving Egypt, and they're declaring everywhere that they're willing to come to Egypt, and that's why we have to pay attention to that, and we have not to lose this opportunity. And at the same time, as I said before, I invite the Chinese government, please help the Egyptian economy, because it is doing its best helping you. And Egypt is cooperating and taking now the side of China. And this is declared everywhere, and this is very well known everywhere. So we are expecting
the market is expected to be flourishing next season. Well, we hope
it's already flourishing.
Tourism season, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to thank you very much, Dr. Rami, the tourism expert. Thank you very much for the